Hello everybody and welcome to What's the Quack. I'm your host, very warm Ducky. Yeah, that's right. It is absolutely boiling in Ireland lately. We're getting some ridiculously fantastic weather, and as per usual, I absolutely hate it because I'm just not built for the heat. The missus loves the heat. She's like, yesterday the sun was blazing down and she just flung herself out into the back garden with practically nothing on her and just said, "Burn me!" She's ridiculous for the heat, and I'm the complete opposite. It overheats you, get all sweaty, horrible and sticky, and the worst thing of all is it makes you feel so lazy and lethargic and horrible and just, I don't know how anybody enjoys the heat so much. It's horrendous. So over the last few days, that today included, I've been tucked away, getting away from the sun as best I can. I'm hiding away in my room, hiding from the sun so well that I kind of feel a little bit like my father. And for context, I don't know my father. There's the humour there. Bit of dark humour to kick things off. Don't feel too bad though. I like to, put a positive spin in it. I like to think that there wasn't a man alive man enough to father me. I'd only out alpha him as soon as I learned to walk, So positive spin. Oh God, talking shite. I'm only a few minutes into this and I'm already talking absolute effluent. So what's on the agenda today? I have a couple of questions you guys sent in. Well, loads of questions you guys sent in. I'm going to blitz through in a bit. So, that's what you have to look forward to in this episode of the podcast. Or, you're just look forward to listen to me because I'm just so fucking interesting, apparently. I'm not really. That was total sarcasm. I don't know what you see in me, but anyway, we'll crack on. What have I gotten up to this week? Well, a whole pile of nothing lately, even just in general, not even this week, because I woke up some day last week, the week before, and I just felt a bit shit in myself. I don't know if you guys get this. You just wake up in the morning and you're like, "Good morning, brain, how are we?" And your brain replies going, "Today we're sad." And you're like, "Oh no, why are we sad, brain?" And your brain says, "I don't know, you figure it out, I'm not your fucking therapist." And then you're just like, "Well, shit, I'm sad and I don't know why." So yeah, I've been kind of in a weird mood the last couple of weeks. Not sad, it's kind of like a melancholy, I feel meh. And I've no reason. I've been pondering on it. I don't know why. I just woke up feeling like that. I don't know if it's something mentally that I haven't dealt with properly that's eating at me. I don't know if it's just something as simple as a chemical imbalance. I can't tell because, your brain doesn't talk to you like a normal fucking person. It just, it just gives you emotions and goes, "You fucking deal with it, cunt." But I've been feeling a bit better in myself lately. I feel, my way of approaching it was, I will just ignore it and hope it goes away. And I think that's starting to work. I don't know. It just feels like a kind of a fad I've been just in, or just a kind of a, you just get these weird moods throughout the year that just happen and come and go. And I feel maybe that's just what it was. And now it's starting to go away. So I'm starting to feel a bit better in myself now, and I'm feeling a bit more productive. So I'm doing a podcast because I've been neglecting them so much. I'm paying to have these episodes available online through Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that. And if I'm not uploading, then it's just a waste of dollarinos, So I might as well just record something, give you something, guys, extra to listen to as well. Because it's nice to just sit down. It's like therapy for me, I just get to sit down and just talk shit into the abyss and figure things out as I go. Oh, God. The nervous laughter of a mental breakdown. Can you feel it? But anyway, what have I gotten up to in the last couple of weeks? Well, I released that video, the routine, that I hope you all enjoyed. The routine was the first video that I've ever had a working title that just became the actual title, because I genuinely couldn't think of anything else to call it. I wanted to title it exactly like it was, it's a stand-up routine. And I could have titled it something, maybe one of the jokes I told within it, but I was like, no, the routine. It just seems classy. I wanted to do something that I hadn't done in a while, and that was take my time with a script. Specifically, because normally I spend an awful lot of time working on the editing side of things and the drawings and sorting things out on that side. It is rare I actually allow myself to do 4 or 5 drafts of a script and just constantly go over it and improve it and tweak it, and I did that with this one, because so many times I've released videos in the past where I'm just looking at it and was like, oh, that could have been better, or I should have taken a bit more time to the script. In hindsight the video wasn't as funny as I'd hoped it would be, things like that. Hold on, my levels are a bit fucking low. I know now turning this up is going to fuck it up in the edit, but anyway. So basically I took my time with the script on this one. I was like, I'm going to make this as funny as I possibly can, with my comedy experience I have now, and see what I can do. Just complete focus on making people laugh. It's not I'm not telling stories. It's just jokes and complaints and hyperbole, really, you know, just having a bit more fun with it than what I usually would. And I was really happy with how it came out. All things said and done, I was happy with the script. I took my time with it, and I was happy with like kind of cutaways, the setup. First video in a very long time where I looked at that and went, yeah, that came out exactly as I hoped it would come out. Canned laughter and all. I know a lot of people didn't like the canned laughter, the kind of fake audience effect. And that's fair enough, I get it. I know there's a lot of things like you see like sitcoms and stuff like that use the canned laughter, and it can be a bit shit and a bit cheesy and a bit kind of cringy at times when you listen to it. But the thing is, I wanted it in this one. You know, whether people liked it or not, I wanted it in there. And I thought, given the whole stand-up routine and all that, it kind of lent to the atmosphere of it. So I knew full well a lot of people weren't going to like it when I uploaded it, but I liked it. And at the end of the day, I'm the fucker that needs to look back on that in 2 or 3 years' time and you know, and still try to feel proud of it. And so yeah, it's canned laughter was something I did just for me. And you know, some people out there actually enjoyed it. It was just funny. It kind of gives a cue to laugh, because you normally don't get that in a Ducky video, because I'm just fucking shooting jokes off as quickly as fucking possible, because it's YouTube. You need this. Don't give people time to think they'll click away. So you just have back-to-back jokes. Sometimes people don't even register that have told a joke. So it was actually nice to add a bit of laughter in there, just to kind of almost give people a cue to know that was actually a joke, lads. You might have missed it. That's where you should pay attention to. That's it. So yeah, the routine's out. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on the channel. It's quite funny, and I'm quite proud of it. It was actually nice to do kind of a stand-up routine, because I know it's something I wouldn't do. People have said that in the comments and stuff like that, as well as a lot of people giving me shit over my timing of my joke, like not leaving enough silence between, or you know, it's kind of my general joke timing. I'm just like, lads, I'm not actually a stand-up comic. I learn everything from YouTube. I don't get any instant feedback. I'm not going to the comedy clubs and, you know, trying stuff out and learning the ropes. I'm just talking into a microphone after writing stuff down and hope to God, you know, people find it amusing. I don't have the time. And of course I don't have the time. And if I got up on the stage, as you know, as I like to think I've honed my craft over the 4 or so years I've been on YouTube, I like to think I've gotten reasonably funny. But I guarantee you, if I actually wrote a stand-up routine, like a proper gig, a proper set as they call it, and went up on stage in a pub or a club or whatever else like that, just to try it out, I would probably fucking bomb, because I don't have the rhythm down. I don't know how much time to leave for jokes. I don't know how funny people will find things, because I could have a joke that I think is fucking hilarious that could be like the end of a bit ultimate joke to end on, that'll have everybody in hysterics, and I could tell it and nobody could laugh, because you know, everybody's a different sense of humour, and you know, mine could be way different than what I think it is. So you never really know. Anyway, moving on. We jump onto some questions. So I put out a couple of posts there, one on my main channel and one on my second channel, Lucky's Room, for any questions you guys had for me for the podcast. So I've picked a few of them, and I'm going to answer them as the podcast goes. I will say a lot of silly fucking questions you guys ask. I enjoy like a silly question, the odd joke question, but my God, and not to shit in you guys, but there were some fucking awful questions in there. You know, they're questions I answered in the past, because, you know, the novelty of having an audience here. It's like, oh my God, people want to know these kind of stuff. That's class. I love answering all this stuff. This is great. But as time goes on and as I get more accustomed to having an audience and all that, I'm just like sitting there and people are like, you know, what's your favorite game? I'm like, that's not an interesting question. You know, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite food? All these kind of like, how is that interesting? Why would you want to know that? Would you not want to know my like opinion on something a bit more serious or heavy, or, you know, even just have a clever question or something funny? Like, I don't want to come across like I'm trying to be superior, but come on, we can be a bit more imaginative with the questions, guys. Right, now that I've I've hit my quota of shitting on the people who, you know, pay my bills and whatnot, I'll crack on. So so the first question, I'm going to do it like a double barrel question, because these are kind of, the answer will run in together. But there's a question from Noran Shades and a question from Anthony Hartman. And questions go, so I remember in your rebound and let down video, you described your ideal girl. How close is the missus to that? And second one was, has your missus always supported your YouTube endeavours? Was she apprehensive? So yeah, in terms of the missus' appearance, she's fairly bang on to what I go for, to be quite honest. She has mental hair colour, she has tattoos, she has piercings, she has a fantastic arse. So yeah, she's pretty much hit the quota. She's not like riddled in tattoos and piercings as much as I'd, you know, in my dream girl, if I could paint a dream girl, she would probably be top to toe with piercings and tattoos and stuff. The missus is like 4 or 5 tattoos and, you know, 4 or 5 piercings and stuff, but it's nothing too crazy. But yeah, she hits the mark every other time. You know, I managed to bag a girl that I genuinely have an attraction to, which is always a plus, you know. I was always kind of drawn towards those emo / punk / goth / walking embodiment of a Dilbo Baggins in terms of hair colours and, you know, strange. I love all that. that was all right up my street. Alt girls, I think they're known as. But they've always tickled my fancy. So yeah, I've pretty much hit the nail on the head with the missus. She's very much that. I often feel like people would spot me in public without knowing what I look like by just seeing the missus, because they'd see her in public and went, wow, she's a peculiar looking woman. She definitely looks like someone Ducky would find attractive. You know, the penny will drop and be like, well, she is with a bloke. That's probably Ducky, if that's the case. And to answer the second part of that question, in terms of was the missus always supporting my YouTube endeavours? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's always been like really supportive with my YouTube stuff, or at least if she ever had any kind of reservations about it, she certainly never aired them. But I don't think she ever did. I always thought she enjoyed that I was kind of taking the road less travelled in a way, and just being a general fucking weirdo doing weird things that normal people don't normally do. It's different, but no, in terms of my whole YouTube thing, she's always been extremely supportive. Yeah, you know, she knows I was always going to be smart enough with it. Like, I was never going to leave my retail job until YouTube was generating enough money where I could just about live on it. She always knew that. She never worried that she was ever going to have to support me, and you know I'll be a struggling artist and she'll have to give me loans in exchange for sexual favours or something. Just going up to her, go on and lick your nipple for a $5, love. Go on, please. I just want a bag of chips. But no, she's always been super supportive with that kind of stuff, and it's paid off. And the only thing she's not supportive of, or well, she is, but in a funny way, is that every now and again when she's at work and she's having a bad day, I'd like to text her and let her know that I'm also at work. I'm sitting at home with my feet up. I've just basically rubbing it in her face how much more comfortable my job is than hers. But you need to do that in a relationship, that's the key to a good relationship, is just pissing each other off in, humorous ways. Yeah, I'll leave that question there. Thanks for the question, guys. We'll move on. Next question is from Abby Rose, and she says, I'm a manager in a bakery shop and have been throughout COVID-19 too. I was wondering how you'd reckon you would have coped if you were still working in retail during the pandemic. Big fan, by the way. Oh, thanks very much, Abby. I do appreciate it. I would have fared very well, because the shop that I was working in last, CEX, I'm still friendly with the guys that work there. They closed for the better part of the pandemic. They were closed for like 6 or 7 months or so, if not more. And I would have loved that, because it would have involved not having to work and, social distancing. I fucking hate people, being further away from them. That just sounds fantastic. Like, if there was the perfect time to work in retail, if ever there was one, it would have been during the pandemic, in my experience. Because it would be... Is that a wasp? It better fucking not be. Oh no, it's only a fucking fly. Go away. I'm terrified of wasps. I have the window open now to try cope with the fucking heat, because I can't have the fan on because it'll interfere with the mic. But so during the pandemic would have been the perfect time to work in retail, because you have social distancing. You could be rude to people who are not wearing masks and shit. And it's socially acceptable. Get out here, you a fucking maskless fucker. No, you don't need the mask for the pandemic. You need the mask to cover up that ugly fucking face. Jesus Christ. I would have fared rather nicely working in retail during the pandemic. Though saying that, it was like my local Tesco, they didn't close at all. There was a lot of places that were essential that I would have absolutely hated working at, because they were open while everyone else that was in any other shop that wasn't deemed essential was sitting at home with their fucking feet up getting a comfortable COVID payment, so that would have pissed me off. But I think on the whole I probably would have enjoyed it, to be fair. Next question is from Cahalo the Wire, and says, what piece of advice would you give your younger self? My younger self, God, there's a lot of things wrong with young Ducky that I'd love to smack out of him. I don't think anybody likes their past self, or at least they always look back on their past self like they were a fucking idiot, which for the most part is generally true. But no, I think if I had to give any advice to my younger self, it would be stop trying to fit in, especially with people that you don't gel with or you don't normally fit into. Like, I think that comes to mind, I don't know why it just popped into my head, but like years and years ago when I was like I don't even know if I was a teenager, I might have been about 10 or 12, something like that. I can't quite remember. But there was these things going around called the Premier League sticker books, and I don't know if you guys ever recall any of these, but basically they're like football sticker books. You buy a pack of stickers and you put them in and you try fill up the book and fill up all the slots. And I hated football, but I had no interest in football. I didn't follow it. My two brothers were mad into football. They're, go on, Manchester United, they're the greatest team. It's just completely absorbed into it. And I was more I was the kid that was into skateboarding and PlayStation and rock music. I was the outcast in the family, the black sheep in a way. But, all my friends were doing this whole Premier League thing as well, because they were all big into football and stuff. So in trying to fit in, I went off and I got a Premier League sticker book, and I was like buying stickers for it and all that. And I don't know why I did that, because I had no interest in any of it. I just wanted to not seem like a weirdo. And I spent a lot of my younger years trying to fit in with groups that I just didn't fit in with, or, trying to be interested in things that I simply wasn't interested in. Like later in life, when I was first started going to like nightclubs and stuff with my friends, I seen a lot of my friends were having a lot of success with women, because they'd get drunk and go out on the dance floor and start dancing, and then they'd start grinding up against a girl, and then eventually they'll get to shift and get off with them and all that, and that worked well for them. And I started doing that shit when I started going out drinking first. I was like, oh yeah, I'll get drunk and I'll go out dancing, but dancing is something that doesn't agree with me. The second I got to the dance floor and tried to start dancing, I was just super aware of how much of a fucking twat that I looked dancing, It's like everybody could get so drunk that they forget. I couldn't. And I was like, I can't dance. I can do like the man shuffle, the 2 steps left and the 2 steps right kind of thing. That's as fucking wild as Ducky ever gets. And even at that, I only do that nowadays just as more of a joke than anything, because people don't expect me to dance. So it's just funny to just go out and dance and just freak them out. But I tried doing that with girls in a nightclub, and I just felt even worse doing that. I felt even more of a twat doing that, because it's just something I didn't enjoy. I hated dancing. I hated that whole cocky guy approaching girls. Let me chat you up there, aren't I smooth? Look at me. I'm a class clown. I'm a nutcase. I'm very loud, or I'm very cocky. All this kind of stuff didn't gel with me at all. And later in life, I found out it's you get a lot more success with women just being yourself. Most of the women I end up chatting up out back in the day in the nightclubs when I was on the game, on the pull, was just out in the smoking area. I'll just, strike up a conversation, chat shit, try make them laugh. And that I had way more success doing that than even some of the lads that were going in being cocky fuckers dancing away, So I suppose if I was to look back and give my younger self any advice, it would be, don't be afraid to deviate from the pack and blaze your own trail. And it certainly worked out well for me later in life, because I'm a fucking YouTuber. How many people do you know are YouTubers that you know directly? Especially in Ireland, tight-knit community where everybody fucking judges everybody. It's so out there. And look at me now. I'm living comfortably as a YouTuber. I got an audience. I make videos. I do stuff I love for a living. I did all that by not trying to fit in. I did that by being different. I did that. I was the guy that when I got home from work, I started working on videos in the evening and then uploaded and put myself out there. And people looked at me like I was a weirdo years ago. I was like, what the fuck are you doing YouTube for? Such an oddball. And then it pays off. And now I'm here now, and those same people are just like, oh fuck, he's actually made something of it. Fair play, So yeah, if I could give any advice to my younger self, would be blaze your own trail. Don't be afraid to be different. In fact, embrace being different, because there's nothing more boring than trying to fit in. Next question is from Captain Branstreet and says, how do you overcome social anxiety? That's something I do suffer. I hate going to places that I haven't been before and meeting crowds that I haven't mingled with before. But then again, does anybody? I feel like social anxiety is something that kind of gets thrown around, or it's something that kind of gets lumped in with like introverts. Oh, you're an introvert, therefore you must suffer from social anxiety. And I think everybody suffers from social anxiety to a bit. Nobody likes going to parties with people they don't know, or, big crowded events where people are going to annoy them. At least most sane people are not super stoked about it. But I certainly understand the level of social anxiety where you sometimes just don't want to be around people. And speaking of somebody like that, especially who's worked in a retail job for years, where you're kind of forced into social encounters with strangers all day, every day, the best advice I could give with somebody, or to how to overcome it, or at least to deal with it is, and it's not going to be nice advice. I feel like people kind of get very soft advice or very caring, considerate advice on stuff like this, but I'd go the opposite route. Now, to say a bit of tough love is the better alternative, specifically with social anxiety. And that tough love is just get on with it. Build a bridge and get over it. You're never going to be comfortable in a social situation if you suffer from social anxiety. So the best advice I can give is just grow a pair and get on with it. The worst thing about social anxiety is the build up to it and thinking about it. Once you're in it, it's not nearly as bad. You deal with it. I hate the idea of being thrown into a big crowd of strangers, but I hate the idea more than I probably hate the situation. Throw me into a crowd full of strangers, eventually I'll build up a bit of a rapport or get friendly with people once as I get to know them, or a conversation will get going. And then I'll kind of forget that I'm socially anxious. It's just one of them things that the best advice for dealing with social anxiety is just that. Deal with it. It's just something that you have to get on with and get over. Tough love, I feel like, is the right answer there. Or at least, be a bit tough on yourself. Not everything needs to be dealt with in a safe and approachable and soft manner. Like, oh, just remember that you've so much to offer, and remember they're not judging you, you're judging them, and you're judging yourself. Shut up, tough fuck. Just get on with it. Get into the situation. Nobody gives a fuck about you. You shouldn't give a fuck about people. Therefore, that should soften it some bit for you. And, worst case scenario, if you don't like a particular social situation, if you're not comfortable in a crowd, always remember that you're an adult. You can leave whenever you want. Nobody is in control of you. So if shit gets too real, just fuck off. Simple as. You don't have to be there. But I will say also, don't be a dry arse. Don't just show up and fuck off after 5 minutes. Give it a chance. It's probably not helpful for a lot of people, but I probably could have approached that better. But it's just a modern world. I feel like I know some old ways and some old lessons can be a bit harsh by today's standards, and a lot of it's not helpful. But I think the idea that not having any kind of tough love in this modern world is a mistake too. I think tough love is needed in certain situations, and I think you gotta be tough on yourself sometimes. Sometimes it is appropriate to be tough on yourself. Sometimes it is acceptable to kind of shit on yourself a little bit, to kind of take the piss out of yourself, so to speak, to hype yourself up and, get on with it. There's a lot of integrity, a lot of self-respect you can kind of garner from yourself from doing that. So that's my advice. I hope my fucking rambling gave you some sort of insight or help in any way. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's time for Quack Me Up Corner.
Quack, 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 quack me up. Quack, 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 quack me up. Get your ducks in order. It's time for Quack Me Up Corner.
A man walks into a bar with an ostrich and a cat. They approach the barman and the man says, "Could I get a pint of lager, please?" The ostrich says, "Can I have a vodka and coke, please?" And the cat says, "I'll have a scotch on the rocks, but I'm not fucking paying for it." So the barman hands them their drinks. The man reaches into his pocket, pulls out a €50 note, hands it to the barman and says, "Keep the change." So the barman, quite happy with his large tip, says thanks very much. The three finish their drinks and leave. The next day, the man, the ostrich and the cat enter the bar again. They all approach the barman yet again and the man says, "Can I have a pint of lager, please?" The ostrich says, "Can I please get a vodka and coke?" And the cat says, "I'll have a scotch on the rocks, but I'm not fucking paying for it." So the barman yet again gives them their drinks. The man again reaches into his pocket, pulls out a €50 note, hands it to the barman and says, "Keep the change." Three finish their drink and leave the bar yet again. The very next day, the man, the ostrich and the cat enter the bar once again. They approach the bar and the man asks for a lager. The ostrich says, "Can I have a vodka and coke, please?" And the cat says, "I'll have a scotch on the rocks, but I'm not fucking paying for it." So the barman yet again gives them their drinks. The man again reaches into his pocket, pulls out yet another 50, hands it to the barman and says, "Keep the change." Now, rather curious about the whole situation, the barman decides to ask the man, "Sorry, if you don't mind, could you explain why you keep telling me to keep the change of a €50 note? It's a very generous tip." And the man was like, "Oh yeah, that's no problem, I'll explain that to you. A couple of weeks ago I found this lamp, and when I rubbed this lamp, out popped the genie and he granted me 3 wishes. So for my first wish, I wanted it that every time I reached into my pocket, there was a €50 note there." And the barman's like, "Oh, that explains the keep the change, yeah, of course, because you're practically minted." But the barman, still curious, leans in and asks, "But what's with the ostrich and the cat?" And the man says, "Oh, that was my second and third wish. I asked for a nice bird with long legs and a tight pussy." Now there you go, lads. I hope you enjoyed that. A lot of people have been asking, why isn't there a Quack Me Up Corner when I have guests on? And it's just because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation with a kind of a Ducky exclusive cutaway. It would just interfere with things, you know? You don't want to stop him at the end of a thought and say, "Hold on there, I have to tell a quick joke." But yeah, we'll carry on with the questions. I hope I got Quack Me Up Corner roughly around the halfway point of this podcast, because I'm so bad at remembering them. I always end up sticking them at the end. I'm aiming for the halfway point. But anyway, talking shite, Ducky, carry on. So our next question is from Wayno the Insano. And he says, "What's your opinion on edgy humour and how YouTube and how it's deemed too offensive today?" So edgy humour and how YouTube deem it offensive today. So my opinion on edgy humour is it's a complicated relationship, to be quite honest. Like, I like edgy humour. That's no secret. I've told my fair share of edgier, darker jokes in the past. But saying that, it is easy humour a lot of the time. Like, to make a good edgy joke, or to make a funny dark joke, all you got to think about is just horrible things: abortion, orphans. It's just these kind of topics, taboo topics, incest, Nazis, all that kind of stuff. It's easy to create a joke around them when the punchline is already shocking in and of itself. It doesn't even necessarily need to be funny, it just needs to shock people. But that's where my kind of mixed relationship comes with it, because there's like a fine line with edgy humour, and like it's rather, hilariously, it's on a knife edge, edgy humour. But it's a fine line, and on that fine line you can get very good shocking jokes or very good dark jokes. But either side of that is cringe. And it's a very delicate thing to tiptoe across. For me, I find edgy humour works best if it's sporadically and used sparingly, scattered in with lesser offensive jokes. That's when they work best. You kind of need to slap somebody into the face with an edgy joke. They can't see it coming, and that's when it's at its funniest. But if I was to fill an entire video with dark and edgy jokes, it'd be funny for the first 10 seconds, and then it would just, diminish in returns, and it's not shocking compared to the other dark jokes. It's very useful as a tool when you use it as maybe like your final joke in a video, or one out of left field that just catches people off guard. That's when it works its best. When it's at its worst, it's like 14-year-olds making Nazi jokes on Twitter. That's when it's at its worst, because it just makes you cringe so hard, because it's just people trying to be edgy so they seem cool. And it's just not any of that. I don't know a person alive who ever looks at somebody being edgy and going, they're fair cool. It's just kind of like, it's almost like a cry for help. It's like seeing a child crying, throwing a tantrum because they can't get a toy or something. It's that level of ugh when you look at it, it's not good in that regard. That being said, again, I'm still a fan of dark humour, but it just needs to be done right. Edgy comedy just needs to be done right. And in my opinion, it only works best when it blindsides people. I hope that answers your question, Wayno. Next question is from Craig Burke. It says, is there anything you actually miss from the retail game? I always found the crack to be mighty. At least in retail, everything else sucks. Yeah, you missed a banter with the lads, kind of your co-workers and stuff, especially if you get on with them. It's usually a good bit of crack. As much as I'd hate to admit it, I miss being angry at customers or like bosses or dumb rules within the company and stuff like that. It's a weird thing to miss, but I do, because I like to complain. Such a fucking moaner. That's all I do, is I whinge, giving out. God, I would have hated to be in any of my fucking co-workers, because all I ever did day after day was just complain. And it works fantastically when you're making videos about, complaining about retail. But if you had to fucking work with me for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, I bet that fucking grated some of the guys. Not that they ever fucking tell me, because we're too nice of people, but yeah, I kind of miss the anger from that, because anger gives you it gives you like an energy and a motivation. I think that's why like the frequency of my videos in the past were like way higher than what they are now. Obviously just there's a lot of other stuff playing into it, like the quality's gone up, therefore I need more time invested and what have you, but I feel like I was way more motivated in the past, because a lot of my older videos were not necessarily comedy videos, they were rant videos. Like if you ever go back and listen to them, there's certainly elements of comedy, and there is comedy in anger as well. There was still very much humour videos, but there was a lot more just anger. It was a lot more ranty. It was a lot more complaining in my older videos, whereas nowadays I actually take my time to try craft a bit more humour and put a bit more humour into my videos, so they're not just taken as some guy angry at his life on the internet. I feel like the happiness of becoming a YouTuber slowed down my output because of that, because anger is such a great motivator to get you up off your arse and do something. So yeah, I suppose in a sense I miss being angry. I also miss the banter with the lads, or like, they have like random Christmas parties, or just stupid shit you get up to at work just for a sheer laugh to pass the time out of boredom and stuff like that. So yeah, you certainly do miss that. But not enough to fucking go back to it, I'll say that much. Much fucking happier doing this right now, I'll tell you that for nothing. I'll tell you something for nothing. This is better than that. Yeah. No, I'd never want to go back to it. I'm happy enough now. But there is some crack that was missed. Tammy Turr asks, how do you stay out of your own head on a bad day? It is difficult, yeah. If you're having a bad day, it's kind of poignant now, given the couple of weeks I've had. But I've always been proactive when I'm feeling a bit down, or have had a bad day or anything like that. There's anything I've learned over the years is sitting and moping, as fitting as it feels like, and as right as it feels, to just want to sit there and listen to some like rebellious music and kind of go, yeah, life is shit. It's not good for you. I remember like the day I woke up feeling like shit, or was, having a particularly bad day. I know necessarily bad day and, feeling a bit depressed are not interchangeable, but similar kind of concept. But when I woke up feeling like shit, I was like, fuck this. I'm going to take the dog off for a walk. I need to get out, in the outside world. Maybe the walk will do me a bit of good. That didn't work. Maybe I'll start working on a video, clean the house, do some chores that I've been putting off for a while. I feel like just kind of attacking your day is a good way to kind of overcome any kind of bad mood or kind of sour note that your day's been on. So I've always been a big believer that be proactive. Don't sit there and wallow. Just do stuff that you think might make you feel better. And if that's like, going for a walk, playing a video game, watching a movie, hanging out with somebody in particular, having a wank, God knows, anything, just try and cheer yourself up. Because the worst thing you can do is wallow, because that is a domino effect of misery. It'll just make you feel worse and worse the more you sit there and do nothing with your time or your energy. So being proactive is a good way to kind of pick yourself back up and dust yourself off. And I suppose in a way, another thing to remember is nobody said life was easy. Nobody ever promised that. You'll get your knocks, you'll have your bad days, and that's just part of the human experience. You got to expect these things. Don't feel like a victim. Just, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and crack back on. Next question is from Stephen Mills, and he says, when and how did you lose your virginity? Well, Stephen, that's a very personal question. When I was 17, so what's that, 2007? I think, yeah, my age kind of coincides to the year. So, yeah, 2007, 17, 2018, yeah, makes about right. But, yeah, I was 17, and I was with a girl I was going out with at the time called Claire. It was a girl I brought to my Debs, and we were, like, seeing each other for a while. And I lost it to her. And it was funny because my mother had gone away for the weekend, so we kind of had a free house that weekend. I was out in the nightclub because when I was 17, it wasn't difficult to get into the pubs, without being asked for ID. As I said that in my bouncer video as well, I didn't get asked for ID until by bouncers until I turned 18. I was in pubs when I was like, late 16 through my entire 17. I was drinking in pubs and clubs and stuff. But yeah, so I was out the night. I was out with my then girlfriend Claire, and then after the pub we made our way back to the house. We went up to the bedroom. That was the night Ducky lost his virginity, lobbed the cock on her. So long ago, and I was a little bit sauced, so I don't remember like every single heartbeat of the moment, but I do remember quite vividly. One, I remember sex being quite disappointing. I don't know if that says more about me or the girl I was with, but then again, sure, both of us were like 17, 18, so neither one of us were exactly fucking well versed in the world of sex. I don't expect a girl of 18 to be fucking phenomenal. That's one thing I don't get. You got these guys that are in their 40s and 50s and they're chasing these like 19, 20, 21 year old girls, and you're just like, why? Like, I get it, aesthetically they're lovely, but they're going to be shit in bed because they're not going to have a fucking clue. Give me a woman that's got a good 10, 15 years experience in Mickey. Because, she'll give you a fucking orgasm that'll make your toes curl up and your arse whistle. Don't give me a one that, I'll put a cock in her hand and she won't know what to do with it. But anyway, I was just saying, yeah. I remember her being a bit shit in bed because I got into bed and it was like, I was the virgin. So she got on top because she wasn't a virgin at the time. She had a dick in her before. So I was like, okay, she's more experienced. She'll take the wheel, so to speak, and steer Ducky into a world of sex. It turns out she was quite bad on top. It was a thing that a lot of women do. Oh God, so many women do this and it's irritating. They don't go up and down on your knob when they're on top. They kind of grind you. The hips are grinding up and down your pelvis, which to them probably feels fantastic, but to us it's just like, no, what you're doing is basically my dick is in you, and what it's doing is like stirring your vagina like a big spoon. I don't want to stir your vagina. I want to fuck it. So go up and down, bounce up and down, get a bit of distance between, my pelvis and yours. Let me go in and out. But no, she was doing that grinding thing, but whatever way she was doing it, it was kind of like, I knew in that moment, it's like, you keep doing this, we're going to be here for the next 4 hours, love. This is not going to get me to the finish line at all. So eventually, after maybe 5 or 10 minutes of me kind of going, right, look, I'm not a virgin anymore. I know what I'm doing now. I've had 10 minutes of sex. I know where I'm at. I've already learned all I ever need to know. So I basically threw her down and I was on top and I fucking pumped away. And tell you lads, soon as in that... Oh, you're fucking joking me. Like a fucking horror movie, isn't it? If I owned an ice cream van, I'd just drive around at like fucking 4 a.m. past people's houses with that on. Just freak the fuck out of them. Somebody wakes up in the middle of the night and you just hear that in the background. My God, that'd be fucking terrifying, just passing your house. Has he shut up? Yeah, shut up. Right, Gren. So where was it? Yeah, flipped her over. I got on top and I did a fantastic job on top because I was on top for all of about 30 seconds, I'd say. But yeah, that's the story of how Ducky lost his virginity and when. I hope that was riveting for you lot. Next question comes from Tyler Truick. What do you think of people with disabilities, Down syndrome and all that, not people with broken legs or whatever? Ugh, it's a touchy fucking subject that you're going to have to broach with some fucking level of delicacy, I suppose would be the word. You're going to have to be gentle with that topic. I always hated dealing with people with mental disabilities when I was working in retail, and I don't want to like shitting people with mental disabilities. You've got a shit card in life, and you have my sympathies there because that's a fucking rough deal. That's fair enough. But the thing is, I'm not trained to deal with people in public much less people that actually have special needs. So it used to like, I just remember I worked in this place before. There was this woman who, I assume she was some sort of carer who, cared for people with disabilities and all that. And she used to come in with this chap who was quite severely mentally disabled, and she'd leave him in the shop while she went and did her fucking shopping. As if we were like fucking free carers for her, like, mental disabled version of babysitter or whatever you want to call it. So she'd just like abandon him inside in the shop. She'd fuck off, do her shopping, and he'd wander around the shop. Now 9 times out of 10 he was fine. He'd run up to me and he'd be like, be holding like a DVD of Thomas the Tank Engine. And he'd run up and he's like, is this good? Is this a good Thomas the Tank Engine? And I'd be like, oh, it is, yeah. Because again, I wouldn't know how to, I'm trying to be like, okay, let's not cause conflict here or anything. I don't know how his disability is affecting him. I don't know if he's perfectly fine and it's just a case of, talking normally, or is he like one of these things that if I say yogurt, he's going to fucking flip and wreck the place for no good reason. I don't know this. This is what goes on in my head. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just want to I was going to approach him with like a kind of a level of just answer him straight, or just kind of play along, see if I can kind of gauge his like mental capacity and stuff like that. But he used to run up and ask me, he was like, Thomas the Tank Engine any good? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that one's very good, or that one sells well, try not to be patronising as well at the same time, because I don't know where his mental level is at. But that used to always drive me up the wall that she'd basically do this. But one day he came along and he bought an entire top shelf row of DVDs, and like it wasn't all in one go. He could like literally pick up the first one, walk up to the counter, and I'd sell it to him. Then he'd walk up and grab the second one, and this was like 12 DVDs. This was 12 different transactions over the space of about 20 minutes. It's just over and back, and just every time having to get his account and link it. And it was just quite funny, to be fair to me, because it was just like it was just a bizarre experience of somebody like buying 12 things and wanting them all in separate transactions for no good reason. He's just decided that's how he wanted the transaction to do. But the thing that infuriated me was when his carer came back from her shopping or whatever she was doing, she was clearly angry at seeing that he'd like a bag of 12 DVDs and 12 receipts, and he'd spent DVDs are pretty cheap at the time anyway, so he spent about a tenner on them. But she was pretty upset about this, and she came over to the counter and she started giving me shit over. She's like, did you sell him these 12 DVDs? I looked at her and went, I did, yeah. Is that a problem? And she was like, well, he's after buying 12 DVDs, he's after spending all his money. And I was like, okay, sorry, I don't know what this man's requirements are, but if you're going to leave him here, I'm going to treat him like any other customer. I'm just going to presume he's allowed to do what he wants, like, that kind of way. I didn't want to question. And she like basically took him by the hand and left the shop, clearly very annoyed. And I remember just being fucking furious with her, just kind of going, what did you expect me to do? Am I supposed to automatically know this man's entire fucking disability and what he is and isn't allowed? And it fucking drove me up the wall. And one of the main reasons I'm always so tiptoey around people with mental disabilities as well was I worked in another place before, and a customer had like beckoned me over because he was looking for a hand with something, and I walked around the corner and there was a guy next to him headbutting him, like full on headbutting him, just smashing him in the head with his own skull. And my first thought was like, oh fuck, there's like an altercation going on here. I thought it was like two customers arguing. That's why he called me over to help break it up. So I kind of put my hand between them. I was like, you all right? And he was like, oh, no, it's okay. That's my brother. He's mental disabilities. He's just acting up. I just wanted to ask you where the biscuits are, or some question. And I was just like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? This guy is like smashing you in the head, like fucking UFC viciousness, headbutting you into the head. And you're just asking me where the biscuits are. And I just didn't know how to react in that situation. I'm like, you're getting fucking full on headbutt. He was like drawing blood and I could hear their skulls connect. It was ridiculous. And I was just like, wow, yeah. And that kind of cemented in my head that, people with mental disabilities can act out in, ways that I am simply not trained to deal with. And, that kind of painted a lot of my interactions with people with mental disabilities going forward. Is I don't know how they're going to react. So I'm going to be as calm and as relaxed as possible around them as not to make waves. A bit of a long-winded kind of tangent, but yeah, it's just it's the thing when you're talking about stuff like that. It's hard to gauge because some people with mental disabilities are perfectly fine. It might be just a thing that affects their speech, or they're a bit quirky, or they've kind of tics or whatever else. But then you have other people that are just profoundly disabled, where can't be managed without a lot of people around them at all times. So yeah, It's a weird one. Are we getting towards the end? We are getting towards the end. You have a couple more questions. I'm running out of steam, lads. This could be like the longest solo one I've done yet. Stitches Music TV asks, what is your opinion on the Irish social welfare bastards, question marks? No, I actually think the Irish social welfare system is fantastic. There's been many a time in my life where I was out of work or I was working part-time and all that. And, you know, the Irish social welfare system helped massively. I'll never shit on the system itself. My problem with the Irish social welfare system, or at least my problem with the Irish social welfare, is particular type of people that are on it. And we all know these people. You know, it may not be like specifically to Ireland. You might, you know, some of you Americans or British people and stuff like that might know people like this. But you know, these people that like left school, then they did a grand total of sweet fuck all for the rest of their life, and they've been doing that for the last 10 or 15 years. Those are the people I have issue with, because and it's not out of some sort of fucking bullshit. You see people do this, like, you know, they're living off my taxes and, you know, they're not contributing to the society in any kind of way and stuff like that. That's shite talk. No, they're not living off your tax. They're not calling to your door demanding your money for your taxes. That's not how it works. You don't really give a shit. That's just social posturing. The thing that bothers me about them people is just the wasted fucking potential. You know, it's the people that will like sit there in front of their fucking Xbox for 15 years playing the same game over and over and have absolutely fuck all else going for them in their life. That's what bothers me most. And I don't want to shit on Xbox playing games. I'm as guilty as the next person that's sitting there playing games for way too many hours ongoing. But at the very least, I'm doing stuff other than that. I was either going to work or I was, you know, making videos, anything at all. There was more than one thing to my life. Xbox is not a thing. That's just what you do to pass the time until you have to do the thing again, whatever your thing might be. Those are the kind of people that drive me mad. Fucking sitting at home playing Call of Duty and smoking weed every day for 15 years with fucking nothing to show for their life. I don't know how they do it. Those are the kind of people that piss me off. I've made mention of them in the past when my like Accurate Guide to Ireland videos, but the full-time mad bastards, as they call themselves on typically on Facebook, when you see their occupation and it's a full-time mad bastard because they've never had a job and they feel the need to put that in so people will think they're actually a mad bastard who can't get a job because they're just so fucking mad, you know. I'm too mad to have a job, man, you know, but I'm also great. Respect me. It's like, no, fuck off. Done fuck all with your life up until now. You're probably going to do fuck all with your life long into the future. Contribute something to your own life. Do something to be proud of yourself, for fuck's sake. A gamer score is not an achievement, as much as they like to call them achievements. They're not. Do something else, for fuck's sake. And last question is from Home-ish, and he or she says, how do you feel your sense of comedy has evolved over the years? Were you always this funny? That's a hard one to gauge. In terms of like YouTube, I think my comedy has gotten way better, as I've mentioned earlier in the podcast. I feel like I started off doing rants that had some funny things in them, and that has evolved into videos, funny videos that have rants in them, so to speak. Like, I feel like my videos I put out over the last year or two are comedy videos, whereas I feel like the videos I put out previous to that are rant videos. You know, there was kind of a distinct, I think after my hotel stories video, it kind of switched up, aiming more towards comedy, because I found I actually had a lot more fun writing comedy than I did just complaining. You know, you come away from my older videos thinking, yeah, fuck the world, that's pure stupid, that's completely ridiculous, why would anybody do that or do this or that? But then you come away from the comedy videos and you're like, that was hilarious, that was really funny. So I have a lot more fun doing that. So I feel like in terms of that, I feel like my videos have certainly gotten funnier over the years. In terms of myself, I suppose I've always been funny, but then again, everybody's funny. You listener right now, listen to this, you're probably funny. You probably have your moments where you're in your group of mates and you're all spitballing and firing jokes left and right, or you're hanging out with particular people. It's just, everybody's funny. You all try to be funny whether you like it or not in a conversation. It just helps with the flow of things. Everybody is capable of being quite funny. I don't even think I'm particularly funny in the natural scheme of things. I have friends that are fucking way funnier than me. PJ, for instance, I think is one of the funniest fucking people I know. If that man committed and actually started making videos, he'd take over the fucking world. But you don't need to be the funniest person in the world to make something of it. You just need to try and make something of it and commit to it and, dedicate yourself to it. That's pretty much the main driving force of success, is just fucking sheer commitment. Yeah, in terms of being funny, yeah. I think, the worst thing is, I think I'm at my funniest when I'm not being recorded. I think my funniest moments are like when I'm taking the piss out of the missus on some random day, where she'll come up and she'll start talking about something and then we'll just get into a bit of a slagging match over and back. I think that's when I'm at my funniest. Some of my fucking gold. Some jokes I tell off the cuff to take the piss out of horror, make it into videos, because I was just, I don't know, I was just in a very good mood, a very giddy mood. I was in the comedy zone, so to speak. That's probably when I'm at my funniest. When I'm doing shit like this, I'm not as funny because there's a little bit of pressure to keep talking and share my knowledge, and just people listening. You're all listening. You're all judging, aren't you? Ye fucks. But I suppose just to get it back on the question there about how my comedy has evolved, I think I've moved away a little bit from edgier comedy. I suppose something I mentioned earlier on. I used to do a lot more kind of edgier jokes than I do nowadays. Some of that is because of YouTube cracking down on the kind of more riskier jokes, but I wouldn't feel like it's a complete loss, because in a way it forced me to change up my style a little bit and explore different avenues. And I think those kind of restrictions actually were a good breeding ground for more creativity. I feel like the more restrictions you have, the more kind of creative you can be within those confines, you know. So that's certainly helped. But anyway, lads, I'm going to leave this podcast here. I've nattered on long enough now, and I'm starting to run out a bit of a mental steam. My brain's going to mulch. But thanks for tuning in and listening. What I was going to say, actually, just at the end of this for you guys, just because I never really promote it, I actually have a Reddit page. You'll find it on Reddit. It's r/Sergeant Ducky, all one word, capital S and capital D. I don't know if that makes a difference. But I was just going to say, if you want to check out my Reddit page, I never give it a shout out, but there it is. And if you guys have any good jokes for Quack Me Up Corner, well, why not post them there? Because I do check it sporadically, my Reddit page, every couple of weeks. So post them there and then see if any of your jokes make it into Quack Me Up Corner. Anyway, thanks very much for listening, lads, and I will catch you, lads and ladies, in the next one.